The air was crisp and brimming with the quiet hum of early London morning traffic. Rolls Royce, an emblem of sophistication and power, glided effortlessly along the streets. Behind the wheel sat none other than Prince William, Duke of Cambridge. The discreet appearance, devoid of the grandeur often expected of his stature, was his deliberate attempt to enjoy a quiet moment before another day of royal responsibilities. Little did he know, this seemingly ordinary drive would become the seed of an extraordinary story that would capture hearts worldwide. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. It began as a routine commute to Kensington Palace, a morning habit the prince cherished for its semblance of normalcy amidst his royal duties. As the car approached a busy intersection near Hyde Park, the familiar sight of pedestrians bustling on the sidewalks caught his eye. But amid the movement, something peculiar drew his attention. A man seated on the cold pavement, his weathered features etched with hardship. The man clutched a cardboard sign that read, "Veteran in Need." God bless. In that fleeting moment, Prince William felt an inexplicable tug at his heart. His privileged upbringing had been paired with the belief that service to others was a noble calling. For all the pomp and ceremony surrounding his life, William had always remained deeply attuned to the struggles of ordinary people. It was a value instilled by his late mother, Princess Diana, who had famously crossed traditional boundaries to connect with the marginalized. With an uncharacteristic decisiveness, Prince William turned his Rolls Royce toward the curb and came to a halt. The sudden motion startled passers-by, their heads turning in curiosity. For a moment, the homeless man, a grizzled figure wrapped in layers of tattered clothing, barely registered the sleek vehicle's presence. But as the tall, composed figure of Prince William stepped out, a hush fell over the small crowd gathering nearby. William approached the man slowly, his polished black shoes contrasting starkly against the pavement's gray grime. Kneeling down to meet the man's gaze, he introduced himself not as the future King of England, but simply as William. "What's your name, sir?" he asked gently. The man hesitated, his voice raspy with disuse. "James," he managed, his wary eyes scanning the prince's face for any hint of mockery. Instead, he found only compassion. "James, would you mind telling me your story?" William's voice was low, measured, and without a hint of condescension. The veteran hesitated, unsure of how much he should divulge. Yet there was something about William's earnest demeanor that encouraged him to speak. He began recounting his tale, a young recruit full of hope and vigor, serving his country in conflict zones far from home. But when his service ended, the transition back to civilian life proved brutal. Struggling with PTSD and unable to secure stable employment, James had found himself drifting further from the life he once knew. The streets became his reluctant refuge. As James spoke, William listened intently, the bustle of the city fading into the background. His eyes, often described as piercingly blue, were now softened by empathy. When James finished, there was a moment of silence between them. The prince then reached out and placed a steady hand on the veteran's shoulder. "You've given so much to this country, James. It's time someone gave back to you." The prince stood and glanced around, signaling to one of his discreetly positioned security team. Within minutes, an arrangement was made to take James to a nearby shelter where he could receive medical attention and warm food. But William wasn't finished. He pulled out his phone and made a series of calls to veteran support organizations, personally ensuring James would be provided with long-term care and counseling to help rebuild his life. News of the prince's actions spread like wildfire, initially carried by bystanders who had filmed the encounter on their phones. Social media exploded with videos and heartfelt captions. "Prince William stops for homeless veteran. What a king in the making!" Across platforms, hashtags like #CompassionatePrince and #WilliamForThePeople began trending. What made the story truly extraordinary wasn't just the act itself, but the authenticity with which it was performed. This wasn't a choreographed royal engagement or a photo op staged for public relations. It was a spontaneous moment of kindness. A future king stepping down from his pedestal to connect with one of his subjects on a deeply human level. The ripple effect of William's actions was profound. Within days, donations to veteran organizations across the UK surged as individuals sought to mirror the prince's generosity. Major companies pledged to create more opportunities for veterans struggling to reintegrate into society. politicians found themselves under mounting pressure to address systemic failures in supporting those who had served their country. But perhaps the most poignant outcome was the spotlight it cast on homelessness among veterans. For years, their plight had been a largely overlooked issue, buried under layers of bureaucracy and public apathy. James's story, and William's role in bringing it to light, sparked a nationwide conversation, forcing people to confront the uncomfortable reality of those who had been left behind. In the weeks that followed, James's life underwent a dramatic transformation. The shelter where he had been taken became his temporary home while he received medical treatment and counseling. A local employer, inspired by the viral story, offered him a job, and a GoFundMe campaign started by well-wishers raised enough to secure him stable housing. For the first time in years, James felt a glimmer of hope. Prince William, true to his word, didn't abandon James after their initial encounter. He made time to visit him at the shelter, checking on his progress and offering words of encouragement. These visits were private, away from the media's prying eyes, reinforcing the sincerity of his commitment. Meanwhile, William's actions continued to resonate far beyond the streets of London. In international news, commentators lauded his humility, contrasting it with the often detached image of royalty. Human rights advocates pointed to his gesture as a model of how those in power could use their influence to uplift the marginalized. As the months passed, William's moment of compassion began to take on a larger symbolic meaning. It wasn't just about one man helping another, it was a reminder of the profound impact small acts of kindness could have when performed with genuine intent. The story inspired countless others to extend a hand to those in need, creating a ripple effect of goodwill that reached far and wide. By the end of the year, James had not only rebuilt his life, but had become an advocate for other homeless veterans. He spoke at events, sharing his journey and urging society to take action for those like him. At one such event, he was joined by Prince William, who took the stage to address the audience. "James's resilience is a testament to the strength of the human spirit," William said, his voice steady and sincere. "But his story also highlights our collective responsibility to ensure that no one who has served this nation is left to suffer in silence." The audience erupted in applause, their admiration for the prince's leadership palpable. It was clear that this moment was more than a call to action. It was a defining chapter in William's journey as a royal. His willingness to bridge the gap between privilege and struggle had not only endeared him to the public, but it also set a powerful precedent for what modern royalty could achieve. Years later, the story of Prince William stopping his Rolls Royce for a homeless veteran would remain etched in the collective memory. It would be recounted in documentaries, books, and conversations as a turning point that reminded the world of the power of compassion. For William, it became a cornerstone of his legacy, a moment when he chose to lead not with a crown, but with his heart. And for James, it marked the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope, dignity, and the promise of a better tomorrow. Prince William's encounter with the homeless veteran James marked the beginning of a transformation not just for one man, but for countless others who found themselves caught in similar struggles. The days and months that followed were brimming with developments, both personal and societal, that pushed the boundaries of what a single act of kindness could achieve. The morning after the story went viral, the gates of Kensington Palace were met with a flood of letters, cards, and parcels from people inspired by the prince's actions. From children's crayon-drawn pictures depicting William kneeling by James's side, to heartfelt letters from veterans sharing their own experiences, the outpouring of emotion was overwhelming. Many of the correspondents expressed their gratitude not only to William but also to James, whose courage to share his story had touched hearts across the world. Amid the flood of support, organizations dedicated to combating homelessness and aiding veterans reported an unprecedented spike in volunteers and donations. Shelters that had struggled for funding suddenly found themselves equipped to expand their services, offering not just temporary refuge, but long-term solutions. The narrative surrounding homelessness began to shift, no longer defined by stereotypes, but by the recognition of individual stories, each as unique and complex as James's. For Prince William, the experience became deeply personal. While his responsibilities as a royal included diplomatic engagements, ceremonial duties, and family commitments, he carved out time to delve into the issue of veteran homelessness. Determined to approach the matter holistically, he began meeting with experts in mental health, employment, and housing to understand the root causes of the crisis. These meetings weren't token gestures, they were marked by his sharp questions and genuine interest in finding sustainable solutions. One of the key realizations William arrived at was the interconnectedness of challenges faced by veterans. PTSD, often left untreated, was a silent killer of hope. It impeded veterans' ability to find stable work or reintegrate into their communities. The lack of affordable housing compounded the problem, forcing many into a cycle of despair that felt impossible to escape. Determined to make a tangible impact, William collaborated with prominent charities and businesses to launch a new initiative, Second Salute. Second Salute aimed to provide comprehensive support for veterans transitioning to civilian life. The program offered job training in industries with high demand, mental health counseling accessible without stigma, and partnerships with developers to create affordable housing projects tailored to veterans. William was hands-on, meeting beneficiaries, participating in strategy sessions, and using his platform to draw attention to the cause. As the initiative gained momentum, so did the ripple effect of James's story. News outlets continued to track his progress, painting an inspiring picture of redemption. James, once a shadow of his former self, was now a symbol of resilience and hope. His newfound stability allowed him to volunteer as a peer counselor, helping other veterans navigate the challenges he had once faced. Each success story tied to James and Second Salute added fuel to a growing movement that was reshaping how society viewed homelessness. The international community took notice as well. Reports of William's actions and the subsequent ripple effect reached leaders around the globe. Countries with their own struggles regarding veteran homelessness began to examine the Second Salute model as a potential blueprint. Invitations flooded in for William to share his insights at conferences and summits, where his humility and straightforward approach resonated deeply. In one particularly memorable speech at the United Nations, William spoke about the need to humanize policy discussions around homelessness. "We often discuss numbers, statistics, and percentages," he said, his voice measured but impassioned. "But behind every figure is a face, a life, a story. We cannot allow ourselves to grow numb to their plight simply because the scale of the problem is daunting." His words sparked a standing ovation, but more importantly, they inspired commitments from international coalitions to address homelessness with renewed urgency. William's advocacy was no longer confined to the UK. It had become a global rallying cry. On a more personal front, William's relationship with his children took on new dimensions as he shared stories about James and the broader issue of homelessness with them. George, Charlotte, and Louis, though young, were encouraged to accompany him on visits to shelters and community centers when appropriate. William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, made it a priority to teach their children the value of compassion and service, a legacy passed down from Princess Diana. One poignant moment came during a family visit to a community center where James was volunteering. George, curious and perceptive, asked James about his time in the military. The conversation was simple but profound, a 9-year-old connecting with a man who had seen the best and worst of humanity. The photograph of their exchange, with George listening intently and James smiling warmly, became yet another symbol of the transformative power of empathy. Meanwhile, the royal institution grappled with the implications of William's increasing focus on social issues. While some traditionalists questioned whether such direct engagement was appropriate for a future monarch, the majority of the public embraced his approach. Polls showed a significant increase in William's popularity, particularly among younger generations who viewed him as a relatable and forward-thinking leader. The Queen herself was reportedly proud of William's actions, seeing in him the qualities of a compassionate and capable monarch. In private conversations, she encouraged him to continue pursuing initiatives that resonated with the public, reminding him that the monarchy's strength lay in its ability to adapt and serve. James's journey also began to intersect with others in unexpected ways. During an event celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Second Salute, James was introduced to a fellow veteran who had similarly experienced homelessness but had managed to rebuild his life through the program. The two men, bonded by shared struggles and triumphs, became close friends and collaborators. Together, they started a podcast called From the Front Lines to Home, where veterans could share their stories and discuss topics ranging from mental health to reintegration. The podcast quickly gained traction, attracting listeners from around the world. Its raw, unfiltered conversations resonated deeply, offering both education and hope to those grappling with similar issues. Prince William himself was a guest on one episode, where he spoke candidly about his motivations and the lessons he had learned through his work with veterans. The episode went viral, further cementing the prince's reputation as a leader unafraid to confront difficult topics head-on. As the years passed, the impact of that single moment, Prince William stopping his Rolls Royce to kneel beside a homeless veteran, continued to grow. The cultural shift it had sparked was evident not just in policies and programs, but in the attitudes of ordinary citizens. Communities began organizing drives to support their local shelters. Schools incorporated lessons on empathy and service, and businesses took greater responsibility for providing opportunities to marginalized groups. The narrative surrounding veterans also evolved. No longer were they seen solely as heroes of the battlefield or casualties of their circumstances. Instead, they were acknowledged as individuals with strengths, challenges, and the potential for remarkable contributions to society. James's story, once an isolated tale of hardship, became a microcosm of the broader journey many veterans faced. For Prince William, the journey was far from over. His work with Second Salute and other initiatives continued to expand, addressing not only homelessness, but also mental health, education, and environmental sustainability. Each endeavor was marked by the same authenticity and dedication that had defined his approach from the beginning. He was not content to be a figurehead. He sought to be a force for change. In quiet moments, William often reflected on that pivotal day when he stopped his car for James. It had been a simple decision, born out of instinct and compassion. Yet it had set into motion a series of events that neither he nor the world could have anticipated. It reminded him of the profound truth that even the smallest actions, when performed with genuine intent, could ripple outward in ways unimaginable. As he prepared to take on the mantle of king in the years to come, William carried with him the lessons of that day. He understood that leadership was not about grandeur or authority, but about connection, humility, and service. It was a legacy he was determined to uphold, not just as a ruler, but as a human being. And for James, now a thriving advocate, husband, and father, the memory of that encounter remained a beacon of hope. It was proof that no matter how far one might fall, there was always the possibility of rising again, with a little help and a lot of determination. The story of Prince William and James became more than just a headline or a viral moment. It became a testament to the enduring power of kindness, a reminder of our shared humanity, and an enduring call to action that inspired generations to come. The impact of Prince William's encounter with James continued to reverberate across society, its effects weaving into the fabric of cultural change in unexpected and profound ways. While the initial moment had garnered global attention, the real legacy lay in how that singular act spurred countless others to rethink their approach to compassion, service, and societal responsibility. As the weeks turned into months, a shift became apparent within the public's perception of the monarchy itself. The royal family, often viewed as distant or ceremonial, suddenly seemed more approachable and engaged. William's hands-on efforts, combined with his willingness to tackle challenging issues, set a precedent for what modern royalty could accomplish. This wasn't just about attending events or cutting ribbons. It was about tangible action, advocacy, and leading by example. Within the royal household, the impact was transformative. William's approach began influencing the way other members of the family engaged with their roles. Catherine, Princess of Wales, deepened her involvement in her mental health initiatives, often collaborating with William to address the intersection between homelessness, trauma, and mental well-being. Together, they spearheaded campaigns to break the stigma around seeking help, particularly for veterans and their families. One such campaign, titled Invisible Scars, used powerful visuals and testimonials to highlight the invisible wounds left by war, those that linger long after the physical injuries have healed. Featuring real-life stories of veterans like James, the campaign brought much-needed attention to the psychological toll of service. It became a global phenomenon, translated into multiple languages and adopted by organizations worldwide. The royal children, too, were influenced by their father's example. As they grew older, George, Charlotte, and Louis began taking on small but meaningful roles in community projects. Under William's guidance, they participated in food drives, visited shelters, and met with families struggling to make ends meet. These experiences were carefully managed to balance their privacy with the importance of instilling empathy and responsibility. William believed that the next generation of royals had to be more than figureheads. They had to embody the values of service and connection. Meanwhile, James's life continued to flourish. With stable housing, meaningful work, and a renewed sense of purpose, he became a beacon of hope for others facing similar struggles. His advocacy efforts expanded as he joined forces with larger organizations to address systemic barriers that prevented veterans from accessing the support they needed. Through public speaking, media appearances, and grassroots organizing, James's voice became a powerful tool for change. One of the most significant milestones in James's journey came when he was invited to testify before Parliament as part of a committee examining veteran homelessness. Sitting before a room of lawmakers, James spoke candidly about his experiences, weaving in the stories of others he had met along the way. His testimony was raw, unflinching, and deeply moving. It highlighted the gaps in existing policies and offered actionable recommendations for reform. The hearing marked a turning point. Within months, the government unveiled a comprehensive plan to tackle veteran homelessness, including increased funding for mental health services, expanded job training programs, and a commitment to building affordable housing tailored to veterans' needs. The plan was widely hailed as a landmark achievement, a testament to the power of advocacy and collaboration. Prince William's role in supporting James and amplifying his message did not go unnoticed. As the media chronicled these developments, the story of their encounter continued to inspire people across the globe. Communities began organizing their own initiatives to support those in need, often citing William and James as their motivation. Social media was flooded with posts detailing small acts of kindness, paying for someone's meal, donating to a shelter, or simply offering a listening ear. The hashtag #RippleOfKindness became a rallying cry, symbolizing the cumulative impact of individual actions. One particularly touching story emerged from a small town in Scotland, where a group of high school students decided to honor James's journey by creating a community garden dedicated to veterans. They worked tirelessly, raising funds and enlisting local businesses to donate materials. When the garden was unveiled, it featured plaques honoring local veterans, a quiet reflection space, and a memorial wall inscribed with the words, "Service deserves dignity." James was invited to the dedication ceremony, where he spoke to the students about the importance of empathy and action. His words resonated deeply, and the event was covered widely in the press, further reinforcing the transformative power of kindness. As Second Salute expanded, its influence began extending beyond veterans. The program's success inspired similar initiatives for other marginalized groups, including homeless youth, single parents, and refugees. These programs were tailored to address the unique challenges faced by each demographic, but they all shared the same core philosophy: dignity, opportunity, and holistic support. In one particularly innovative project, Second Salute partnered with a leading tech company to create a digital platform that connected those in need with resources and services in real time. The app, named Safe Harbor, allowed users to find shelters, job opportunities, counseling services, and more, all at the touch of a button. Its intuitive design and accessibility quickly made it a game changer in the fight against homelessness. Prince William's involvement in these initiatives solidified his reputation as a forward-thinking leader. He was not content to rest on the laurels of tradition. Instead, he actively sought out new ideas and embraced technology to drive change. His approach resonated with younger generations, many of whom had previously viewed the monarchy as outdated or irrelevant. William's ability to blend tradition with innovation breathed new life into the institution, ensuring its relevance in an ever-changing world. The international stage also continued to amplify the story's impact. William's advocacy for veterans and homelessness led to collaborations with global organizations like the United Nations and the World Health Organization. He played a key role in convening international summits that brought together leaders, activists, and experts to share best practices and develop coordinated strategies. At one such summit in Geneva, William delivered a keynote address that drew on his years of work in the field. He spoke about the importance of treating homelessness not as an isolated issue, but as a symptom of deeper societal inequities. His call for a global commitment to ending homelessness was met with widespread support, and several countries pledged to adopt elements of the Second Salute model. Through it all, William remained grounded, often reflecting on the personal connections that had driven his journey. He frequently visited shelters and community centers, spending time with individuals whose stories mirrored James's. These visits were rarely publicized, as William preferred to engage without the glare of cameras. For him, these moments were a reminder of why the work mattered. One particularly memorable encounter occurred during a visit to a small shelter in Manchester. There, William met a young woman named Aisha, who had recently escaped an abusive relationship and was struggling to rebuild her life. Her courage and determination deeply moved him, and he made a point to follow up with her progress in the months that followed. Aisha's story later became a powerful example of resilience and hope, inspiring countless others facing similar challenges. As the years passed, the legacy of that fateful day outside Hyde Park continued to evolve. Prince William's decision to stop his car and engage with James had set into motion a cascade of change that touched lives in ways he could never have anticipated. It had redefined what it meant to lead, proving that true leadership was not about titles or power, but about the willingness to act with empathy and purpose. For James, the journey was one of transformation and redemption. From the cold streets of London to the halls of Parliament, he had come full circle, using his experiences to uplift others. He often reflected on the unlikely friendship that had changed his life, marveling at how a single moment of kindness had opened doors he once thought permanently closed. For the world, the story became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the smallest gestures could have profound and far-reaching effects. It challenged people to look beyond appearances, to see the humanity in others, and to recognize their own power to make a difference. As the anniversary of their encounter approached, William and James reunited for a special event celebrating the progress made since that day. Standing side by side, they addressed an audience of supporters, advocates, and those whose lives had been touched by the movement. Their message was clear. The work was far from over, but together they had proven that change was possible. The story of Prince William and James was not just a tale of kindness, it was a call to action, a testament to the extraordinary power of ordinary moments. And as the years continued to unfold, its legacy remained a shining beacon of what humanity could achieve when guided by compassion, courage, and a shared commitment to building a better world. As the momentum from Prince William and James's story continued to build, its impact began to transcend even the tangible changes in policy and public perception. What emerged was a cultural shift, a broader understanding of interconnectedness and shared responsibility. Across the UK and beyond, the narrative around homelessness evolved, moving away from judgment and stigma toward empathy and systemic accountability. In the arts and media, the ripple effect of their story inspired countless works that sought to humanize the issue. Playwrights, filmmakers, and authors began weaving stories of veterans and the homeless into their creations, ensuring their struggles and triumphs reached wider audiences. A critically acclaimed documentary, From the Pavement to Purpose, chronicled James's journey and the larger movement it had inspired. Narrated by Prince William himself, the film blended raw interviews with veterans, expert insights, and moments of quiet introspection from William, providing an intimate look at how one encounter had redefined lives. Education was another area profoundly affected by this narrative. Schools began incorporating lessons on homelessness and social responsibility into their curricula. Students studied real-world cases like James's and engaged in projects aimed at addressing issues in their own communities. Teachers noted a remarkable shift in attitudes, with children developing a deeper sense of empathy and a desire to contribute meaningfully to society. The ripple effect from these classrooms promised to shape a future generation of compassionate leaders and informed citizens. Meanwhile, Second Salute expanded its reach, becoming a global benchmark for addressing veteran reintegration and homelessness. Partnerships with international organizations facilitated the export of its framework to countries facing similar challenges. In the United States, where veteran homelessness was a significant issue, Second Salute collaborated with local initiatives to implement tailored programs that mirrored the UK's success. Australia, Canada, and parts of Europe followed suit, creating an interconnected network of solutions rooted in the principles of dignity, opportunity, and collaboration. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Prince William stopping his Rolls Royce for a homeless veteran? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.